If you've ever felt like the generic health advice out there just isn't working for your specific body, well, you are definitely in the right place. Today, we're decoding the Noorns Methylation and Diet Report. We're going to break down exactly what methylation is, why your unique genes completely change how you respond to everyday nutrients, and what a personalized genetic report can show you that standard advice simply can't. I love taking complex biology and turning it into actionable steps, and man, this topic is a perfect example of just how empowering data can be. Let's get right into it. Okay, let's dive into this. Just to give us a quick roadmap for this explainer, first, we'll look at the nutrition advice gap. Second, we're unlocking the methylation network. Third, we'll see exactly when average fails you. Fourth, we'll go inside the personalized report. And finally, we'll wrap up with privacy, patience, and biology.
Section 1. The nutrition advice gap and why generic advice leaves us guessing.
Picture this scenario for a second. You're standing right in the middle of a supplement aisle. Or maybe you're scrolling through a label on your phone, and you are just completely paralyzed. You realize you have absolutely no idea whether the bottle in front of you is actually right for your body. An article you read this morning told you to take folate, but the label on the bottle says folic acid. Then a friend swore by a B complex. But wait, an expert on a podcast said you should avoid B vitamins entirely if you have a certain genetic variant. It leaves you wondering if a standard multivitamin is going to turn you into a pumpkin or something. It is completely overwhelming, right? None of it lines up. And the biggest problem here, none of that advice actually knows you.
This confusing, deeply frustrating space is what we call the gap. Think about it. Most online nutrition advice has to assume an average reader. There's really no other way to publish a single article and reach millions of people. But that gap, where generic advice ends and your actual personal biology begins, is exactly where Nutrigenomics steps in. Nutrigenomics provides the missing context. And honestly, it's exactly why the methylation and diet report is the one most Noorns customers choose first. Moving on to Section 2. Unlocking the methylation network, the invisible engine inside your cells.
So, the absolutely crucial starting point here is understanding what methylation actually is. It's not just a simple single switch. It's a massive, fundamental chemical network. And this process is happening constantly inside you. Your cells are using methylation right now to build new DNA, to produce energy, to run your immune system, clear out heavy metals, and even synthesize the neurotransmitters that dictate your mood, your focus, and your stress response. It literally turns genes on and off based on the life you live. And it involves a whole team of genes working together. Genes with names you might have heard of, like MTHFR, COMT, AHCY, and PMT. Now, when methylation is running smoothly, it's totally invisible. You don't even think about it. But when it's struggling, well, the signs are incredibly difficult to pin down. We're talking about an unexplained tiredness that just doesn't go away, no matter how much you sleep. Fragile or shifting moods that come and go for no obvious reason. Persistent brain fog. Family patterns of anxiety or depression, or maybe strange, unpredictable reactions to medications and B vitamins. Because these symptoms are so quiet and so confusing, they don't exactly arrive with a neat little warning sign pointing directly to your methylation cycle. And that's why this entire system is so often completely ignored in everyday nutrition advice.
All right, Section 3, when average fails you, how your variants rewrite the rules.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what we're talking about. Let's look at a classic battle, folic acid versus folate. Folate is the natural form of vitamin B9, the kind you find in dark leafy greens. Folic acid, on the other hand, is the synthetic form, pumped into fortified bread, pasta, and cereals. For an average person, sure, maybe folic acid is fine. But for people who carry a common variant in the MTHFR gene, specifically one called C677T, they convert that synthetic folic acid much less efficiently. For these individuals, large amounts of folic acid aren't just unhelpful, they can actually jam up the methylation cycle and make those frustrating symptoms even worse. So in this case, the form of the nutrient matters just as much as the dose.
Let's look at another really striking example. Choline. It's vital for your cell membranes, your liver, and your memory. Just look at the stark contrast here. The average American intake of choline hovers right around 313 milligrams a day. But if you carry specific variants in your PEMT or MTHFD1 genes, your individual requirement just skyrockets. You might actually need closer to 1,200 milligrams per day just to avoid things like fat accumulation in your liver. That is nearly 4 times the average. To put that into perspective, you'd have to eat almost 9 eggs every single day to hit that number.
No generic magazine column or podcast is ever going to tell you that you need quadruple the normal amount of choline. Your needs differ, not because something is broken, but because your specific genes interact with food in highly specific ways.
Section 4. Inside the Personalized Report. Unboxing your genetic blueprint. So the Noorns Methylation and Diet Report is comprehensive. We're talking over 100 pages. But please, don't let that intimidate you. The architecture of it is really designed to relieve anxiety. It kicks off with the recommendation summary. This is a prioritized, scored list of foods and nutrients tailored specifically to your genetic signal. The higher the score, the stronger the evidence. This is by far the most used page because, hey, you don't need a biochemistry degree to start making changes right away. From there, it moves into genetic conflicts, a gene-by-gene breakdown for your reference, and finally, a science deep dive for those of you who really want to geek out on the biochemistry.
I really want to draw your attention to this quote from the source material regarding the conflicts section. Methylation is a network, and different genes occasionally vote in different directions. This is just biological reality. The report doesn't pretend everything is perfectly simple. For example, methylfolate might pop up on your focus list because one pathway desperately needs it, but it might also appear on your avoid list because another pathway is highly sensitive to it. The report doesn't paper over this conflict. Instead, it gives you both scores so you and your healthcare practitioner can weigh the data intelligently.
It is also absolutely vital to clarify the boundaries of what this report can and cannot do. It highlights your genetic nutrient needs and optimal forms. It's a fantastic foundation. However, it absolutely does not diagnose disease, and it does not confirm current deficiencies. Your DNA is a blueprint, but it is just one input. Your sleep, your stress, your environment, and what you've been eating for the last 10 years, all of that matters immensely. So, to confirm your current status, you still need lab work and a practitioner.
Section 5. Privacy, patience, and biology. Setting realistic expectations safely. Now, what's really interesting about this is the difference in how your most private data is handled. Standard industry practice? It usually has you upload your raw DNA file to some company's server, basically asking you to trust them blindly. But Noorns built their architecture entirely differently. When you use your raw data from a service like 23andMe or Ancestry, the analysis runs entirely locally, right inside your web browser. Noorns doesn't upload your data to their server. They don't store it. They can't even read it. Your DNA file literally never leaves your computer. So privacy here is enforced by the actual technology itself, not just some written policy you have to accept.
And finally, we really need to talk about this number 3 to 4. That is the number of months the human body typically needs to truly respond to changes in methylation support. And actually, if you have blood type A, it can take even longer. This is a vital piece of realism. Knowing this timeline in advance completely changes your expectations. It stops you from abandoning a highly useful dietary change after just 2 weeks simply because you didn't see fireworks right away. Patience isn't just a virtue here. It is biologically required. I want to leave you with this incredibly empowering final thought from the source text. Your genes are not your fate. They are your foundation. If you've been dealing with unexplained fatigue, odd moods, or frustrating reactions to supplements, standard advice is always going to fall short. The Noorns Methylation and Diet Report is simply a tool to translate your unique foundation into a short, actionable list of things you can do today. So, what will you build on your genetic foundation? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll see you next time.